Hey, welcome to the Don Miller Show podcast. Thursday night, I'm screaming tonight. I'm excited. So much to talk about, so much to get to. Thank you so much, Phil, the podcast doctor.
What up?
Thank you so much for everyone who has supported what we do here on the Don Miller Show radio and podcast. Listen, got some new things to tell you. The other day, we dropped our new website. Go check it out, www.thedonmillershow.com. New website, thedonmillershow.com. Also, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and, of course, Twitter, X. Please, so much to talk about today. Shout out to Amber. Amber is, man, Phil, thanks, man.
Booyah.
Amber Kusia, graphic design website. Man, I appreciate you so much, little white lady. I was trying to be funny, man. Somebody told me, man, if you want to get something right, get a little white lady. And I was like, I'm going to go ahead and try to see if this little white lady can help me.
Oh, yeah,
but she ain't really white. You got to call her, as my mama used to say to my Italians, they come to work hard. So thank you so much, Amber. We appreciate everything you do here, and we look forward to working with you. So I just feel good. I got a new website. You can check out the show live on the website now. I don't know if it's working. Somebody tell me. Let me know if it's working on the website. If you can go to the website, see the Don Miller Show. But got a lot to get to, of course. Last week, we had a new president inaugurated, the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, Donald John Trump. Let me tell you something. This dude had a tough road. You can like him or hate him, but to me, he's a G. He had a tough road. I'd have quit. I'd have been like, nah, I ain't got nothing. I got too much money to be playing with you clowns. But he fought through, and he won for real. He didn't sneak by, win into these conspiracy theories talking about this white man. He done had, what's the little dude name? The little smart dude that's smarter than everybody in the world? Elon Musk, right. He talking about Elon Musk and rigged the election. There's still people out. Shut up! Let's just pray and hope for the best. Again, listen, when I talk about real things, I like to engage in the conversation with people that I just absolutely look to for real in real life. My friend is joining me on the show. Many, many years ago, I met this brother. He is just one of the most solid, one of the most scholarly people I know. He is one of the nation's premier scholars on Islam. Of course, you have seen him on Al Jazeera, BBC. He's a graduate of Bethune-Cookman University, Purdue University, The Ohio State University. He's from the South Side of Chicago, and he is a real studied guy in terms of constitutional legal history, public history, labor, social history, Caribbean history. He's just a bright guy. Joining me here on the show, my good friend, Dr. V.S. White. Hey, Doc.
Hey, man, how are you?
Man, I love having you on here. Phil, this dude's smart for real.
I know.
Like, you ever met somebody, you be like, hey, he's smart for real. I am so excited to have you, Doc. Got so many things to talk about.
Okay.
What we saw this week, President Trump, I don't know how this cat does it. He came out of the gate with his foot on the gas, over 100 executive orders signed. I want to come out of the gate and explain to the people what an executive order is, Doc. I think people don't know what it is. Executive order is something that is in the interim until something moves forward. Please talk about it.
Until it becomes a law. An executive order is a temporary law that exists as long as that person is in the presidency, in the Oval Office. Oftentimes, that executive order goes to Congress to become a law eventually. You see, so it's an immediate order. So if he signs it today, it goes in effect today. It doesn't have to go through Congress or anything else.
So I want people to understand how this works. And so when you hear the executive orders, the number of which we have seen, some really interesting ones. And I'm watching the black folk, for example. I want to speak to the Negro, as I often do, because they frustrate me a little more than the white people. It's the truth. And I'm going to tell you why, right? I want to just say this at the beginning of every show from now on. And at the end of every show from now, books don't bite. Okay? Books don't bite, Phil.
And they never say no.
Oh, man. Listen, guys. So I want to talk about some of the ones that I've been getting a lot of messages about. I know you have, Doc.
Sure.
I want to start out with birthrights. I think a lot of people are confused. President Trump signed the birthright executive order just the other day, and people are panicking. They don't know what that's about. They want to kind of talk about the Constitution. This executive order speaks directly to a situation that is not new to those who study. This executive order 11246, the birthright order. Can you explain to the American citizens the 14th Amendment and how this whole conversation birthright came about?
Okay, let's put it to a historical context. First of all, at the end of the Civil War, there came to the development what you call Civil War amendments. The 13th that ended slavery, the 14th that gave citizenship, the 15th that gave voting rights to men. The most important is the 14th, because the 14th says that there's all the rights in the Constitution are guaranteed. However, the most element part of the 14th Amendment is birthrights in reference to slavery, the former slave.
Absolutely.
That stated that any person who was born in the United States or naturalized, they are citizens. But the reason why is because when slavery was in effect in this country, and if you were a child of that slave, you were automatically a slave. You didn't have no rights, so it changed that. Now, the authors of that amendment did not have any idea or clue in reference to immigration. There was no immigration problem in that manner. The first time it becomes an issue was in 1898 in a case called USA versus Wang.
That was the Chinese gentleman.
Absolutely, that was a Chinese guy, and he said, well, he came in as an immigrant. He had his wife had a child, and he said, well, he's guaranteed that, and it was put in effect. However, it still was not a major issue. Now, what's interesting about the birthrights is that no country in Europe, Africa, nor Asia has this. All right. In order to be a citizen of that country, you have to have a parent who is a citizen of the country for you to be a member of that society. However, in the Western Hemisphere, it's different. Primarily, the countries in the Americas, North America, Central America, and South America. Why? Because it was part of the whole element of colonialism, whereby they was trying to get Europeans to come to the United States and come to the Americas and giving them citizenship. But again, it had no effect to what we're talking about today. So the whole element of birthrights in the United States in reference to immigration is archaic. It's wrong. It makes no sense any longer.
Well, a judge in Washington, in the state of Washington, John Coffenauer, just filed, well, he froze it. He put a stop to it in the state of Washington, along with 3 other states. And I'm concerned that, first of all, I think President Trump and his people are playing chess while others are playing checkers.
Absolutely.
This was going to be a challenge no matter what. Anytime you talk or move toward amending the Constitution of the United States, you're pushing against something that is going to, for sure, be very challenging, right? But I think what can come out of this is an understanding, Doc, to the American people what this is all about. Most people have no idea what the whole conversation is about.
Absolutely. However, 70% of the American people, by the polls, say they are against to open door birthrights. All right, because 1, economically we can't afford it. 2, we see that aid given to these individuals who are coming in as illegals and having children is money that can be going someplace else to other communities. And thirdly, they see that other countries throughout the world do not support this. So they ask, why should we?
Right.
So I believe that ultimately it's going to go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the Trump initiative in reference to birthrights.
So you believe that there's, for the first time in a long time, there's an opportunity for this to be law?
Absolutely. It's going to happen. All right? Because, I mean, that is the trend. The American people want it. The federal government wants it under Trump. And again, we find it not necessary. Right now, the element of the United States has become more nationalistic. And that is, 1, we're concerned about our own infrastructure.
Right.
We're concerned about our own society. And we're concerned about making America, as Trump would say, strong or great again. So that's where the pendulum is going.
Let's talk about this. I want to talk about this in terms of how the American person or the person who's just kind of hearing about this would probably understand it better. Many years, in the last 12 or maybe 15 years, let's pick the state of Arizona, for example. The state of Arizona's health system was in crisis because of so many what we call anchor babies, mothers coming into the country, sneaking over the border illegally, were giving birth, and it was putting a significant strain on the Arizona healthcare system. One of the reasons is many of them come in this country pregnant, and they give birth, but it's not just a normal birth because of these women, most of them, almost all of them, had not had any prenatal care in the 9-month period in which they've carried the child. And oftentimes, and the data shows this, many of them were suffering from venereal diseases, which changes the whole makeup of childbirth. It goes from, a basic childbirth to probably a cesarean section. So the numbers were staggering, and the weight on the healthcare system. I think a lot of people just don't understand what this means when you got people coming over the border, weighing down on the systems that have been set up for American people. And so I think it's important that we have this conversation. I wanted to get out. The whole anchor baby scenario has been a real crisis. Mom comes to here, has a child, then the mom assumes, hey, I'm not leaving.
Yeah,
right.
It's been going on for over 50 years. You know, Don, I've gone to over 100 countries. And when I come back to the United States, I always find someone on the plane who's pregnant, and they know they're pregnant, and they're coming here because they're utilizing the system to stay in the country.
Right.
Get a baby, stay there. All right? It's a scam.
Yeah.
And we have seen it over and over again. But it doesn't happen to other countries. I'll give you a case in point. Once I was going to Egypt, and there was an American lady. She said, I'm pregnant, and I want to have the baby in Egypt. All right? I followed her. We talked a little bit. When she had the child, the Egyptian government said, no, that child is not an Egyptian. That child is an American. You have no rights here. You had the baby here, but don't think you're a citizen.
Right.
All right? And it's very understandable.
Yes.
It makes sense.
Doc, when we talk about this, it's a lot of people. It's a sensitive subject. It's not a sensitive subject to me. The fact is, to those who are listening, please listen. These people affect the lives of Americans who are living on the edge anyway. Right.
Absolutely.
So if you're a poor black or a poor white in this country, and we think it's a good idea to have open borders, as Congressman Frost and many of those far left liberals have been talking. If you think it's a good idea to have open borders, don't complain if you ain't making no money. Don't complain if your situations are dire. Yeah, because these people drain the system.
People have to understand that, like Trump has stated, people have taken advantage of the United States. They play us as a fool.
Absolutely.
They just don't come here because they're having babies. I mean, they can be sick on the plane. The first thing they go is go to the emergency,
right,
and get treated. All types. I've seen it.
Yeah, because they can't go in their country.
They cannot go in their country.
Right. Absolutely. Right. So you come here.
They come here to get treated. They go back home.
Right. Absolutely.
Pay nothing.
Right.
But you pay something.
And they come here. They sneak over the border. They come here. They make money, and guess where the money goes?
It goes to them.
Back home.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So,
and again, we have to understand what Trump is doing is that we cannot afford this any longer. This is America, United States 2025. This is not the United States 1965.
Right. And I think we have to move in that direction. It's offensive to some people. I'm amazed at how many people think it's a good idea to swing the borders open who are living in dire straits. You ain't got nothing, and you want to open the door? Let me explain something about growing up poor, right? We didn't have company. Or if we had company, Phil, and it came time to eat, guess what? Company got it.
Eat by shifts.
Right. Hey, man, my mom used to say, well, you need to tell Melvin he need to go home.
Yeah, what you about to do?
Absolutely.
We didn't have enough. It's simple. We didn't have enough. Yeah. You know, she tried many times. Never forget, she was like, baby, but this time you got to just, she called me in the room. Yeah. Tell Melvin he got to go.
Yeah. And along with this, I mean, Trump has been very smart. He's also signed an executive order to stop Americans from sponsoring refugees, which also means that he has stopped travel midnight travel to the United States. So you're right, he's playing chess. The pieces are on the board. So you may try to stop him one way, but he has something else. And that's good for the American people. The only ones who continuously argue that it's a good policy are primarily African American leaders and liberal white leaders who have duped black leaders into making them believe this.
Absolutely.
So therefore, they have our people to believe that, oh, we're doing the humanitarian thing. But you know what? While we're talking about that, they say nothing in reference to the Dominican Republic that has deported over 2 million Haitians.
Absolutely.
Not a word.
And continue to do so.
Aggressively and violently.
Yes, as we speak. And we're talking about neighboring countries. We're talking about countries on the same land.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so I think it's important that we have that conversation. I want to continue to watch how the birthright citizenship scenario moves forward in the courts. I think you're maybe onto something, Doc, when you say that.
Hold up. So why people were freaking out? They were saying that, oh, they're going to come get you, and even if you're born here, they're gonna deport you.
Yes, that's
what's been going on.
They're only going to deport you if you're here illegally. And they have a right. I mean, for example, if Don or I did something that violated the law in the United States, the police have the right to come right now to take us.
Right.
All right. We broke the law.
Absolutely.
All right. Again, I've been to so many countries, and in every country I've gone to, I have to go through customs. I have to show my visa or get a visa on arrival. I have to show how long I'm going to be there. You cannot do this in other countries. If you do so, two things are going to happen. One, they're going to put you in jail. Two, they're going to get you out.
Absolutely.
There's no question.
So again, I just want people to, this is a great opportunity for us to get a better understanding and educate ourselves on how this system works. This is a great opportunity. Over 100 executive orders. They're all out there. Go look at them. Go read. Take some notes. Write something down. You're in the house. It's cold now. It's cold in Florida, so you ain't got nowhere to go. Go read. And I'm telling you, books don't bite. Okay? If you don't, you can't grow if you don't know. And it's amazing how many people think that they can grow without knowledge. You can't. Yeah. You can't. You're going to be in the same place. I want to touch on another one real quick. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. I've got a lot of questions about this when the executive order withdrawing from the World Health Organization.
Well, that's very interesting in itself because, one, Donald Trump has stated that we pay almost half the budget.
Absolutely.
To the WHO, which is their budget is $7 billion annually. We pay half of that. Secondly, Donald Trump is arguing that the political mechanisms within the WHO is not favorable to the United States. That is, they're doing things that are contrary and outside elements of our interests.
Absolutely.
Thirdly, he's maintaining that the WHO was complicit in hiding the fact that China had a hand in the development of COVID-19 that literally killed millions of people throughout the world. And nothing was said about it. And there's a sidebar to this as well. And that is Dr. Fauci, who also has a hand in the WHO with two physicians who stated initially that they should begin to experiment with vaccines on Africans because they won't know any different. So
and that's documented.
That is documented. That's not made up.
Right.
All right. So Trump, he sees all of this, and he is saying what is in the best interest of the American people. He's not caring about what other people think. His focus is on us, and he's doing the right thing.
And to speak to what you just said, within a couple of hours before President Trump was inaugurated, Joe Biden made some pardons. One of them was his family. We saw that coming. But he also pardoned Dr. Fauci. And can you explain to him? So why would Dr. Fauci need a pardon?
Unless he did something wrong. That's the preconceived idea of a pardon. And the interesting thing about President Biden and his mass pardons, we never seen anything like it.
Never.
The closest thing was in 1972, I believe, when Gerald Ford had pardoned Richard Nixon because of the Watergate scandal.
Right.
But that was just one. But he has literally pardoned thousands of people from persecution. And then the whole concept of preemptive.
Right.
Which we have never seen before.
You haven't been convicted of a crime.
That's right.
Yet you have a pardon.
Yeah. All right. And so there's a couple of things that's going on line. That is, one, they don't want to be convicted. Two, they don't want their pension to be interfered with. And thirdly, they know they will be audited, and then they will have to pay that money back. There's four things going along right there. Wow. And Biden knows all of this. Wow. So he's protecting his interests because they have something on him.
Wow. Well, I wanted to talk about that real quick. The WHO, I want everybody to watch closely. The WHO, the World Health Organization, is a sham organization as far as I'm concerned. Some of the things that they pushed have not been positive, especially if you look at the African continent. Where was the WHO when in the AIDS crisis in Africa?
Absolutely.
Right? Where were they? They existed and they were taking money from countries, but where were they?
Well, I used to do a lot of work in East Africa, especially around the Ebola thing. The WHO, along with our own agencies, have more bio labs there on the African continent than any other place in the world. So they are experimenting on our people.
Yep.
You see, and we have all types of diseases taking place. Listen, Don, I have been to villages in Kenya and Tanzania, Uganda, where people are literally dead. Kids are walking around looking for their mothers and fathers, or some of them are just hugging their mothers and fathers, and they are dead because they've been experimented on by WHO people that is being that was connected to some nefarious groups in the United States that dealt with medicine, i.e. Dr. Fauci.
Okay, well, again, we got to continue to watch that. He got a pardon. He got a long, spread-out pardon. He'd never been convicted of a crime, but he got a pardon. It's totally confusing to me. I want to really get back quickly before I go back to the executive orders. I want to talk about the hostage releases and how that came about in the last few days, interestingly.
Well, it's very interesting because, first of all, Mr. Trump, he's not a friend of Netanyahu. Not at all. He doesn't like his policies. And he even called Netanyahu an SOB, called him a devil, in fact. However, he stated before he got in that something is going to have to be done. All right? So what happened is that the first level is that we're going to have the hostages between Hamas and Israel to exchange. The second level, Israel stated that, I want to know the names of the people. And the third level is that once all the hostages are released, it's going to be a complete ceasefire. But the problem now that Trump is going to have with Netanyahu is that Netanyahu is not going to want to have a complete ceasefire because he's under investigation by his own people and that he will be out of government. So he wants to prolong the conflict as possible. However, Trump, on the other hand, he is saying that he doesn't want bloodletting. All right, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want bloodshed. It's going to have to stop.
But Doc, Netanyahu was in trouble before this all came about.
Yes, but Biden was a punk. You see, Biden didn't have the balls, the background, the testicles to do the right thing.
Right.
Because, again, the United States is the one who controls the strings of Israel.
Absolutely. 100%.
And Trump doesn't give a damn.
Right.
All right, he's going to call it just how he sees it.
Yeah, you know what? I want people to pay attention to that, too. I want you to put that on your list of things to study. Shout out to Quetta Jean Johnson from the Johnson family of Ridiculous Behavior. She is reading and watching as we speak. Again, I want to talk about something that a lot of people are up in arms about, Doc, and I've been really looking at this closely. Donald Trump signed an executive order telling the federal workforce to go back to work.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you for over 4 years now, you're having people at home doing what? 10% of the work, getting paid six figures to do nothing. Donald Trump understands that in order to run a government, a agency, a business, people have to be there. You see? It is saying that if you don't want to be there, fine, we get somebody else. plain and simple. Now, the people who follow Biden, they're making it like it's a terrible thing. You have to go to work. I have to go to work.
Absolutely.
All right. It's not a bad thing.
Right.
Things happen.
But you know what's amazing to me when you look at people are upset that they have to go back to a job that pays them a lot of money and they got great benefits, right? If you work for the government and you've been there for a minute, Phil, it's an amazing cushy. First of all, nobody gets fired. Let's be clear. Let's go look at that, Phil. You ever heard of a government worker getting fired, Phil?
Nope.
No. So you go to work. That's what regular people do. It's amazing. One of the biggest running jokes of my lifetime is the fact that the government don't work. Everywhere you go to a government agency or entity, you got to wait for a long time to get a response.
That's right. And that's why he now has people of the private sector that's going to be leaders and operatives within the public arena. And that's a good thing.
Oh, I think it's the best thing to happen. I just think, look, if you're offended, I do think, and I talked to someone the other day, that there's going to be some waivers, and I support if you are if you are a disabled veteran who works for the government, I think that's going to be a waiver for that. You don't have to go back to work. I get that. I support that 100%. If you're a disabled veteran, if you serve the country in any capacity for real, then I think you should get a nod no matter what. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think I talked to a congressperson today, and they're pushing it. If that happens, they're going to push it. And I can't see much pushback on that because there are a lot of disabled veterans who work for the federal government. They get a nod for sure.
Absolutely.
I made that call personally to a congressperson who's like, you know what, I think that's a really good idea. So we think we're going to hear about that. Shout out to my man, Real Rap Kane. You can follow him on all platforms. I want to kind of spend a few more minutes on this because how is it that people don't understand? I think the whole working from home situation was one of the greatest scams ever presented to man. You go sit at home. I called a business a few weeks ago, Doc, Phil, and the lady answered the phone, and there was a dog barking in the back. What is that? Because they got so comfortable. It's like, oh, I'm at home, sitting around, watching TV, taking phone calls when you want to. No, the United States government has millions and millions of square feet of office space in Washington, D.C. alone.
Yeah. I mean, by staying home, you lose your edge. I mean, Vivek Ramaswamy has something to say about this when he stated that we have become mediocre, that we have become lazy. We have lost our edge. When you just stay home and do nothing, that's what happened. I used to be an old boxer. I cannot train at home. I got to go to the gym. I got to put the work in that I got to fight.
And you want to be in that space. That space does something for you too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So what Trump is trying to say, he's trying to put the American community psychologically on the edge again, that we have to recapture our edge. We have to not just don't talk about how we're better and how we're great. We have to put the work in. All right, so that we can create the foundation, so that we can do the things that we want to do. I mean, did you hear his talk? Yeah. He even talked about Mars. All right, that's an initiative, basically saying to the American people, if we can think it, we can do it.
Absolutely, and that's what I was told as a kid by some very smart people. I want to talk about real quick because I got to get a couple of things. People are sending me messages as we speak. Again, thank you so much. Subscribe and like. Tell your friends to subscribe and like. Dr. White just ran for Congress again. Doc, you can't give up. We need you there.
Oh, definitely.
Man, I'm in your corner 100%. You are a part of this show. You've been a part of this show for a long time. You are a mentor to me, my friend, from the many, many, many years ago we met. And I appreciate you so much. I want to talk about the DEI executive order. I got calls about that. They're saying it's racist. Can we talk about the basis of this whole DEI conversation from its inception, the Civil Rights Bill, and how we moved to this point, Doc?
Well, in 1965, that bill came out under Lyndon Baines Johnson, all right? And he argued that we had to do something to spur equality within the federal government workforce. People forgot about that, the federal government.
That's what that was about.
All right? And and he saw it as a temporary issue. All right. Now the problem is that many of our political leaders, in the Democrats and even some Republicans, take on the notion that this is perpetual. It never stops. All right. And when it becomes perpetual, it creates a false image and it gives a unfair element to mediocrity. That means just because you are a person of this ethnic group or this racial group or this religious group or this gender, you have a position. It doesn't work like that at all. And also there's something else there. And that is that they're not talking about many of those, well, the act now really doesn't benefit the people that it was geared for.
Absolutely.
All right, so the ones who are getting benefits, I don't want to hurt any.
You got to be talking, Doc. Tell it like it is. Black people ain't the one.
No, it's not the black people. Are Indians and everybody else.
This is the trick with it. When I'm listening to black people calling it racist, if you go look at who are getting these jobs, these DEI hires.
That's right.
I'm telling you, it ain't black folk, okay?
It isn't black
and so
people.
for y'all to think that this is racist towards you.
In fact, less than 7% of the federal workforce that came in with DEIs are people of African descent.
Absolutely.
Everybody else. You see, but they snooker the African American into believing, well, it's for us and they're going to lock us out. Because our people are not thinking, we're not reading anything, and we're not looking at the literature, and we're not asking the right questions.
And I think when you say that, Doc, you lay it out. It's amazing. So I talked to a friend of mine with a government agency, and she was like, dude, this ain't got nothing to do with black people. The DEI hires that we're seeing are coming from other countries.
Yeah. And be honest
Phil,
with you.
Could you see that? Huh?
And let me call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
All right? Many of them are Caucasians who happen to speak Spanish.
Yes.
All right? Who happen to speak Spanish. All right?
No, for real. Right.
So
it's the truth. You know, but
is.
again, I think we got to pull back. It's everything, it's racist and this person's a racist. Look, first of all, I've seen a bunch of people get jobs. How many times have you seen somebody get a job and you say, how the hell did he get that job?
Yeah. And also they have to understand that from day one, going back to 2016, Mr. Trump was concerned about wealth building in the African American community. He never just talked about jobs.
Right.
All right. He understood that as the African American and the people of African descent has been the building blocks of this country, they have received less than any other group. And he said, listen, what do you have to lose?
I remember that. I remember the statement, but they call that racist too when he said, what do you have to lose? And it made so much sense to me. Coming from where we come from, Doc.
Absolutely.
It's a point. It was like, whoa, there are people who from the South or from other areas, not from the urban communities who've watched the plight, who come from the struggle, were like, how dare that white man say, what do you have to lose to black people? And I was like, that's a good ass point.
That's right.
What do we have to lose?
Let's go back to Chicago. The other day when I was in Chicago, right? And I stopped by Doc's. Remember Doc's?
Oh, Doc's Fish.
All right, Doc's Fish.
Right.
It used to be completely African American.
Absolutely.
Not now.
Yeah.
All right. There's other folks.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm telling you right now, you're right. You're right.
I went to Mellow Yellows. And,
it's a wrap for that too.
In Hyde Park.
It's
not us. Other folks. You see,
they did amazing.
And they got in because of DEI stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You see.
Yeah.
Even at the universities. I mean, the people who are in major positions now. Not us.
Doc, so when you were teaching at the university level, and you were studying this and paying attention to this, were you surprised how a lot of the diversity people who were gaining from that program were people coming into this country?
No, I wasn't surprised by that because what happens to the university system, all over the country, they're nothing but an extension of the bureaucracy from the Oval Office. All right? So therefore, there was very, very clear that they did not want people of African descent who were born in the country.
Foundational Black Americans.
Black Americans.
Absolutely.
They found more. They were more comfortable with other people. I'll give you a case in point. UCF. I'm the one who created and developed the idea of the Islamic Studies Department, but they didn't want a face like mine. You see, they don't want.
You did start that.
That's right, and I'm the one who would have an interest. In fact, about it, let's go on a little bit farther. I was able to have Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam to agree about putting their papers at the University of Central Florida. That would have made the University of Central Florida one of the strongest places to study Black religion and Islamic affairs in the country.
Absolutely. I remember that.
They didn't want it because they didn't want a particular face.
But it's amazing to me, and this is not if you're going to study religion, you have to study all of them.
Absolutely.
Okay, you can't tell me you're a religious scholar and you've only studied Christianity. Okay,
Right.
You have to study all of them. You have to understand it in whole, right?
Right.
And so when I look at it, and I go back to the whole DEI conversation, Doc, it is one of the biggest. And I think there are Black people who think this is really about them.
This is the DEI thing.
It's not. It's not, Phil.
In reference to people what do you call it, foundational Black Americans, all right? They will get a mediocre African American, all right? I saw it at UCF. I have 5 books.
A mediocre Black.
Yeah, they get one.
That's a T-shirt.
They would even get one who doesn't have a PhD, you see? And they would give that person tenure. What will happen now, that person who has that position would never say anything fundamentally that's strong for his community. They're so happy to have a job, and so they got the job to say nothing, and the university says, look what we're doing in reference to diversity.
And so when it goes back to the whole DEI thing, oftentimes, they're not even qualified.
No, they're not qualified. All right? It's nothing more than, as I had a professor back in the day who wrote a book titled Black Faces in High Places. They were Helen Edmonds, a great civil rights attorney.
Yes.
And what you have is just there a face to do nothing, to make everyone feel good, but they're controlled. You see?
Okay.
They're controlled.
Okay.
And we can't have that type of thing.
So I want to turn quickly to the executive order, male or female. Only 2 genders.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I mean, it's a damn shame that you have to have an executive order for that. All right?
Yeah.
And the thing that I like
Phil,
about,
hit that bomb, man. You're right, man.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the first element of that executive order is that this is not going to be an issue in the military.
Yes.
It's going to be a male, female. We're not going to do transgender operations.
So this president and this order bans transgender in the United States military.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I support
and
that.
He should that.
Right.
He should. In fact, about it, I look for him ultimately saying, at some stage in this administration, that parents who push transgender on our minors should be held accountable criminally. I expect that from him.
Well,
and it'd be absolutely right. And other countries, even Russia, has that.
Well, you know what, Phil? I haven't seen any responses, or can you see what? Are we getting anything?
Yeah, D'Amica's in the chat.
Hey, D'Amica says,
yeah,
I love the Dr. White breakdown. Thank you so much, D'Amica Page. Author, hey, author, you guys got me rolling over here. Yeah, preach. All right. Again, thank you so much. We like to look and see what the people are saying. Get this man back on Orlando radio, Brock, Florida.
But you got people, you got a lot of watchers, so you got a lot of people.
Thank you so much again. Feel free to continue to support us. Subscribe and like my guest, Dr. White. Again, guys, he's a brilliant scholar. But, Doc, I want to get back to the whole multiple gender conversation. Now, you are a studied man, a religious man, an imam, You used to love Jesus. You still love Jesus.
I love Jesus.
Okay, you speak
Can't live
Jesus.
without him.
You speak Jesus as well as you speak anything, right?
In fact, my name Isa is another name for Jesus.
I know.
That's right.
SSA.
And that's the man who cannot be broken. That's what Jesus means.
That's absolutely. So let's talk about this. And I know D'Amica Page wants your thoughts on this, and I know many of my listeners. How can a Christian who follows Jesus attach themselves to the fact that there are more than two genders?
You can't. I mean, it's very, very clear that God made Adam and Eve to reproduce and to create a society. It's even in the Old Testament that if you even look at another man in a way of lust, you would be stoned. In fact, the Quran even states that that type of thinking, lusting over your same gender, stinks in the nostrils of God. So there's no element, there's no way that you can get around that. You know, so interesting. The other day when Donald Trump was at this church, and the bishop.
What was that about?
That's a lesbian, right?
Yeah, she's married.
That don't mean nothing.
Right, exactly. You're right. You're right. Good point.
You see?
The attack that she was so angry.
Yes, very, very angry for no reason. All right? She has acted like she was scolding him, and she is very disrespectful. But she's part of that woke ideology that has infiltrated religion, all right, and has handcuffed religion from speaking truth to power. So therefore, it means that if you're religious now, you have to speak an ideology that says that, oh, God loves everything, and everything is good. God doesn't love everything, all right? God hates certain things. And he hates this whole concept, this transgender homosexuality thing. It's not a good thing. It wasn't a good thing when Jesus walked the earth. It wasn't a good thing when Muhammad walked the earth. And it surely wasn't a good thing when Moses walked the earth. You see? But they try to change it.
But so when I watched President Trump come forth, sign an executive order saying enough's enough. And then I see these people, these Congress people and these senators and these politicians in D.C. that claim Jesus Christ as their Savior, yet they attach themselves to a very flawed doctrine. And how can you even engage in the conversation and believe that there are more than two genders?
You can't. Let me put on my imam hat for a second.
Please.
All right. They have tried to turn Jesus, the prophets, and God into a punk, that he stands for everything. It doesn't work that way. And when you do that, you have changed your religion into a political mechanism, which means now you're shielding your dirty lifestyle and trying to justify it. And that's going to cause the corruption of not only your family, but the entire society if we allow that. And like it or not, you may say all types of things about what Trump has done in the past. His ideas about what he's doing is actually saving the foundation and the moral strength of America. Because remember, America was built on this slogan, this concept that we are a city upon a hill, that was pushed by a minister. That we are a city that's supposed to be looked up upon, that we are the light of the shining God. And we cannot be the light of the shining God if we practice a lifestyle, a culture, a way that is in contrary to the Bible itself.
You don't think that's a little hypocritical, though, about Trump? Because he is not the embodiment of a Christian. He says he is, but his actions show otherwise.
Has Trump did wrong? Of course he has.
Yes.
All right. And all of us have done wrong.
Correct.
All right. I do believe, however, that first of all, that near-death experience revived him spiritually. The Trump that we see today in January 2025 is not the Trump that we saw many years ago, so and morally. I think he has changed on this. Because when you come close to your concept of mortality, it changes you. All right? I remember years ago, I almost drowned. And in the flash of a second, it seemed like I saw my whole life in front of me. It changes you. And anyone who has come close to death, they would tell you the same.
Mm-hmm. Recently, before we turn, Minister Louis Farrakhan, I played the clip here on the show, Phil, if you recall, when he said that God picked Trump, as he spoke before the National Press Club in D.C. And then again, he went on WVON radio in Chicago, and he talked positively of Donald Trump. And there were people calling me as like, man, Farrakhan's losing his mind. And go ahead, can you address that?
First of all, one of Trump's top people, Robert Kennedy, is an associate of Minister Farrakhan. All right? Robert Kennedy, when he was speaking about vaccines, he addressed the Nation of Islam. I was there.
Absolutely, yep.
All right? And he was right on point. Donald Trump is a man who would listen to reason, and he had talked to anyone. Same as Minister Farrakhan. You get past what the media says about both of them.
Right. And
he says that Donald Trump is what America needs because he is unfiltered. He's a disruptor. In spite of his oddness and his contradictions and some things, he speaks the truth and he speaks what the Americans want. He is not aligned to any of the nonsensical bureaucracy that has controlled the political leadership in the United States for centuries.
So when we talk about something, some of the things that I support, I've had a real problem here with the whole transgender movement. And I had a real problem with it. And I read an article recently that it says, Louis Farrakhan joins list of extremists praising Trump. Right? Okay. So no matter what, if the disdain for this gentleman, this president, that's never, the people who hate him is going to hate him. Right.
Right.
And they're going to hate him without knowledge. I've been saying that, using that term, hate without knowledge, HWK, right? Mm-hmm. And I just believe that, how about looking at this, what happened to critical thinking? Are we at a deficit? The real deficit in America is critical thinking.
When we were young, Don, we was always being taught to ask the question that is not obvious. All right? What is being said between the lines? But they're not teaching that any longer. So now we're letting other people think for us. Let us go back to Farrakhan thing for a second. Just remember the episode that took place in New Orleans. First, they said it was an outsider, all right, a terrorist group. Then they moved the story into saying that, this was really a sign of someone really trying to intimidate and get Trump. New Orleans and Las Vegas. Then they argue and maintain, this is the media, that Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam was behind it. That's very interesting, right? They do things that try to break up any possible unification of thought, all right, of analysis that says that, you know what, we may have differences, but we are all in this together. And remember, the political establishment, especially on the liberal left, they only stay in power by disrupting things and causing division.
And when you say that, that's a very good point, because I look at, you mentioned RFK just a few minutes ago, Robert F. Kennedy. I've known of the long-term relationship that he has had with the Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it's been a long-time cordial relationship, as you know, a decent relationship. And people are attacking him. He has taken a position in this administration. People are calling him a conspiracy theorist and all of these names. The Democrats really turned on him and kicked him in the head. And what are your thoughts on him attacking the food industry because of the poisoning of the American people through the food industry. It's like who can't say that's true?
Absolutely true. I mean, by him attacking them, he is also attacking the element of the lobbyists, all right, who peddle these chemicals into our food. For example, one of the biggest lobbyists in the country is the sugar lobbyists, right? Do you know they even put sugar in cigarettes? They put sugar in everything. All right, so therefore, even if you go and get something healthy, it's sugar in it, and you wonder why Americans are fat. All right, the chemicals that they put in the foods, they're so outrageous that they're bound to kill you. The other day, check this out. I like to feed the wild things, around critters around my house. So I had some old cereal. I threw it out there on the grass. That cereal stayed on my grass for about 4 weeks.
I feel.
But check this out. It didn't decay.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Wait,
didn't
what
go
cereal
back.
was it?
It was some cornflakes type, frosted flakes.
Right.
All right. And the animals didn't even eat it. They look at it, you don't want this stuff. If the animals don't want it, you know something's wrong with it.
Right.
So therefore, 90% of the American food that we eat, and which Kennedy has identified, is poisonous to us.
Yeah.
Now, some people are saying, well, he's not a physician. Well, he's doing something right. The guy is almost 70 years old. He could do 60 push-ups right now.
He looks great.
All right. He's a wonderful specimen of a person.
Right. And so when I want to talk about that real quick, because when was the last time we had somebody in a government position that called BS on the food system and the food we eat? And I just hope it gets confirmed, because when I look at the things that he's been saying, the food is the problem, Doc. The food system in this country, gigantic $100 million lobbying arm, and it's amazing that he is being laughed at by people on one side of the conversation. I think this guy's a genius.
He's going to be confirmed, but they're going to try to handcuff him. All right. 2 of his top people who are his advisors, who's been with him for a long time, they dropped today. All right. They got him out of his team players that he needed. So they will, yes, confirm him, but they would do everything in their power to limit his influence, because the whole element of poisons in our foods and vaccines and all this other madness is big money, big power, big pharma that is concerned only about the destruction of the healthcare system in our country and making money for themselves.
Wow. You know, I can't wait.
In fact, I don't eat the food. I mean, I hate to cut you off.
No.
But I mean, I have my own. I have a farm.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so I grow my own stuff.
Right.
All right. I only buy water that is filtered, and I don't go out to eat.
Right.
All right, because I know that stuff is poison. I'm going to tell your audience right now.
Please, Doc.
All right. If you know better, you need to start getting real food and stocking the food in your home, because there's some heavy stuff that's coming along. Now, you may think I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I've been preaching
but I
this.
don't care about that, because what's the name of the comedian that we had years ago? The funny guy, they called Dick Gregory.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. They said he was a conspiracy theorist too. But everything he said
has come to pass. Yeah, and I tell you, I've been saying this for a while. I stockpile. I have everything. And I just think people need to really understand that one of my bright spots in this administration is going to be the voice of RFK. And I just can't wait. I know there are people definitely in the food manufacturing industry that are panicked. They already froze and executive order got rid of that red dye. That even in the 70s, red dye number something was killing mice, yet they left it in the food. And I just think that I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about the notion that finally that's going to be a conversation. that we could talk about. Real quick, Doc, before we get out of here.
I just want to say thing.
Go. Take your time.
Okay. Another thing I want to make mention, they're trying to argue that I think Elon Musk did some type of Hitler salute, right? You heard that story, right?
Yeah, but also, I heard the story.
Yeah, but check this out. We have a good guy, a good friend from Chicago named Michael Jordan. Remember they tried to say that he was looking like Hitler, but he had that little mustache?
Right.
The point is they're grasping at straws, trying to do anything they can
but
do.
people in the Jewish community came out and said, no, that's nonsense.
Absolutely.
So if they're not concerned, it's just they're grasping at straws. Netanyahu came out and said that was not a Hitler salute.
Absolutely.
And so, it's like, let's sit back and see how this works. Can we do that? Can we take a minute, sit back, and see how it works? I cannot leave the show tonight, Doc, without talking to you about the executive orders around the border. Can we talk about the border and how many of these urban communities have been infested with violent and people? Somebody to the white lady, nice ass, ma'am, nice lady, ma'am. Just you don't try to challenge me at the bar, ma'am. So I'm sitting here, man. Phil, I'm having a glass of wine. She's like, you the guy from the radio. Yes, ma'am. She was like, we should let everybody come in. I said, ma'am, where you live? She told me, I say, so your house about $1 million, right? She said, yeah. I said, you got a gate around your house? She said, yeah. I said, then it ain't your problem. I say, that ain't your problem. But if you talk to anybody in these communities, go look in Chicago, in any of these urban communities where they're Look, I'm from Chicago, Doc, you from Chicago.
Right.
We grew up with gang activity our whole life.
Absolutely.
These Venezuelan gangs,
they're rough.
That's a whole nother level, Phil.
I'm telling you.
Phil, I know my cop buddies, shout out to my cousin, who's the chief of police for Cook County Hospital. Well, it ain't Cook County Hospital no more. They changed the name.
Straters.
Yes, Stroger Hospital, yeah. And my buddy who's deputy chief of police in the big city. Dude, these are murderous gangs.
They have forced the gangbangers in Chicago to unify.
Yes.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
Rival gangs on the south side of Chicago, rival black gangs.
They have come together.
They have come together to ward off these MS-13s and these crazy Venezuelan gangs. They got a name for them. Yeah. And now people are talking about, man, the government shouldn't go. Look, when Donald Trump, executive order, decided to call the cartel a terrorist organization, and there are people pushing back on that, Doc. What are your thoughts?
I mean, the man did the right thing. They are a terrorist group. His job is to protect Americans from domestic and international terrorists or enemies. So they're coming into the country, they bring it into their drugs, and they have literally taken over vast amounts of communities throughout the country. And you know what's so sad about it? The people in these sanctuary cities, they're not going after these guys. No. They're going after the local gangs that's trying now to protect their communities. Even in Chicago. Something's wrong with that. Now, if you say, well, it's wrong what Trump has stated, that there's a crisis and that he has deemed it as a threat and he's going to send military people there to board it and to guard it. Well, if you believe that, then it is Biden's fault, because under Biden, over 20 million illegals entered the United States.
Okay, and to the lady who attacked me at the bar, I want to get back to that. I was having a nice glass of wine, just winding down, and she just went on and on about opening the border, and she was like, my grandson, he passed away 2 years ago from fentanyl. I said, ma'am, there's a likelihood. Phil, there's a great likelihood. I said, ma'am, there's a great likelihood that the drug your grandson died from came over the border. Well, that's not true. And listen, ma'am, listen. I'm like, I'm sorry you lost your grandson, but I'm going to go sit at the other end of the bar because I was trying to be respectful. And she just went on and on. The problem is, if you think it's okay to swing the doors of your house open, try it tonight. Leave your doors open. I don't care what neighborhood you live in. Some coming in there that don't belong in there, Phil.
That's right.
Huh? It might be a squirrel, might be a rat, might be a possum, a coon, or a big-ass black guy or a tattoo-faced white dude that don't belong in your house.
Right.
If we, think about this, right? Think about this to my Christian buddy, Rory, who I got into it with the other day, talking about Jesus. He almost D'Amica, but he ain't there yet. Every song I heard about heaven, it told me it had a gate.
Everything has a gate.
Heaven had a gate, Phil.
Yeah. You know,
You couldn't just walk off in heaven.
I'm going to give you a quick story. I have a cousin named Claudia. She's from Panama, Panama City, Panama. They deported her.
Wow.
She called me. You know how you're Latino. Hey, baby, how you doing, Vibert?
Call you
So
by
I'm
your
doing
government
fine.
name.
Yeah, my slave name.
Slave name.
So, you know, they won't let me come back. I said, Claudia, you came here on a visa as a visitor. I told you to go back, but you're going to try to outsmart the system. I'm sorry, baby. You're not going to be able to come in for 15 years now.
Right.
All right? You have to obey the laws.
And that's your cousin.
That's my cousin. I love her.
Right.
I will send her some money.
But the problem is, I don't understand these people who lock their doors at night but want their border opened.
Because it doesn't affect them.
Yet. Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But we see how they affected them in Martha Vineyard.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
They're crying
No,
now.
them, yeah.
Get them out.
Get them out.
You see? Everything is, in theory, until it affects them.
Absolutely. Listen, our guest, Dr. White, man. Dr. White, how can they follow you? Phil, put Dr. White's ad up. Y'all need to go follow Dr. White. He's a brilliant scholar. He is my friend. There you go. At Dr_V_ISSA.
And I want to tell you about my new book.
Oh, it's out?
It'll be out in 5 days.
Okay, tell us.
It's called Blacklisted.
Yeah.
Paying the price for speaking truth.
And that happened to you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I also talk about the story taking place to other hundreds and thousands of us in this country. Forward by Cornel West.
Oh.
All right?
Yes.
It's going to be hot.
That, you know, I love Dr. West.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And guess what? You know me. I call names.
I know you do.
I call names.
Yeah. And shout out to D. Wash. If you're watching, D. Wash asked me today, when am I going to write my book? It's coming, y'all. It's coming. And again, you're going to write the forward for me.
Absolutely. And I'm going to make sure in a couple of days you get a signed copy.
Okay.
Give it to you.
And we're going to put it up. We're going to put it up on all the platforms. And it's Blacklisted. That's the name of the book.
Blacklisted.
Dr. White, thank you so much. Hey, everybody, thank you. Subscribe and like. Do me a favor. Tell your friends about the show. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Next week, I have a giant announcement. Go check out our new website, please, thedonmillershow.com. Follow us on X, Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on all social media platforms. We'll be back next week, but we're getting ready to start doing something we haven't been doing. We got a staff now. We got a team. I'm going to be tweeting. I'm going to be talking to you on social media daily. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless y'all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.